to destroy the world is The Invisible Man.
Ugh, what a picture.
Which also rules.
Yeah. Also a returning director.
Yes, this is James Whale, who we saw on Frankenstein as well. And in many ways, The Invisible Man feels like him kind of like redoing Frankenstein, like his version of Frankenstein. There's a lot of similar plot elements, but I think this movie is executed a lot better than Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Frankenstein's good, but this is like really good.
Yeah. This is definitely, for the show, this is definitely my favorite Universal monster movie that we've watched so far. We're kind of hitting all the big ones. But even like in the grand scheme of them, of like all of them that I've watched, I might like Creature from the Black Lagoon more than this, but like this might be my favorite Universal monster movie.
Yeah, I mean this movie it's really intense.
Yeah.
It's like the Invisible Man is very threatening. And the voice work that the guy who they hired to play him,
Claude Rains,
he was a relatively inexperienced actor, and a lot of people like didn't think that he would be very good on screen. He had just kind of been in stage stuff, and he didn't screen test very well. But James Whale hired him just based on his voice, which is what he mostly is in this in this movie.
Yeah.
And his voice is very imposing.
It is him like playing him in the bandages also, I think. But yeah, it is like he gets so much out of that voice. It is really a sort of like a very voice forward, naturally, performance. And yeah, Claude Rains crushes it. He's got a great voice for this character. I feel like this is another instance where it's like the Claude Rains Invisible Man voice is like has become such a thing where it's like if you want almost like an evil mastermind voice, it's like do that. Like that's kind of right in the book on it almost.
Yeah, especially a British one.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, like both the Invisible Man and Dr. Mabuse are these sort of like criminal mastermind types who just want to like blow things up. And Dr. Mabuse talks in like a hoarse whisper all the time. He's always whispering into people's ears and stuff. Whereas the Invisible Man likes to make very grand declarations and yell at people and complain about people entering his room.
Yeah, I mean, for like he is in, both of these characters are invisible in some ways. But Dr. Mabuse is kind of using that invisibility to like seed ideas, and this guy is just like, do what I say, damn it.
Yeah. Or I'll strangle you when you least expect it.
Yeah, he's using his invisibility to in like an extremely like threatening, ominous way.
Yeah.
There's a scene where he talks about like, what he can do and his ambitions for like ruling the world. And because he's figured out the secret to becoming invisible, and he's like, I will make like the governments of the world compete for who was going to get this secret from me. Like they'll grovel at my feet. Everyone's going to worship me. I can rape and kill like however much I want. Like it's very extreme.
Yeah. He really goes off the deep end.
Part of the framing of all of this is that the serum that makes you invisible also makes you crazy.
Right. He uses a fictional chemical called monocaine, which is a sort of bleaching agent, but then also just happens to cause murderous thoughts and megalomania. Makes you go mad. I did think it was kind of funny. They're like, monocaine, it comes from India, which feels like them kind of, it's a far off place that we don't know about. It's scary.
The Orient.
Yeah. It's very like, it's foreign. It's scary. But so I like how this movie kind of starts with him already invisible, already crazy, like plotting awful things. Like we don't see him as a scientist before any of this. Everyone just talks about Jack Griffin, the scientist, as like, he was obsessive, but he's like a swell guy. We never meet that guy. We never see him. People only talk about him. It's like the only Jack Griffin we ever interact with or like see on screen, or not see on screen, more like, is crazy invisible Jack Griffin.
He's not just invisible, he's crazy invisible.
Yeah, he is crazy invisible. Classic, iconic look of him with like wrapped up in bandages with either goggles or red sunglasses.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his wardrobe in this movie, I gotta say. Because he's got like two looks. He's either like in a suit with like big goggles and the bandages over his face, or he's in like nice pajamas and a robe and bandages and like cool Victorian sunglasses.
This movie starts with him walking into a town like I don't know, like in does that happen in Frankenstein? No. I guess
there's kind of a similar scene in Dracula where they're like coming to town, but
Dracula. Yeah, but it's not the bad guy, I guess, in Dracula. It's Renfield actually. Yeah. So it is kind of like, but anyway, he is kind of following some road signs in a snowstorm to like, and he ends up in this village called Iping in Sussex, and finds his way into this inn with these people with very funny accents.
Including, all right, here you are, governor. Very, very Cockney, heavy duty English accents in this movie.
Including, and so, he goes up into his room. He's very rude to people. He would have been fine, honestly, if he wasn't so rude.
Yeah. It's a side effect of the serum also. It makes you very rude.
Like, if he just wanted to be left alone to work on his invisibility serum so that he can become invisible and cure himself at will, and then make other people invisible if they give him piles of gold.
Right. Well, because initially he is trying to figure out a way to make himself visible again.
Yeah.
And then kind of abandons that as his insanity deepens, and he is just concerned with causing mayhem. He's
not nice to all of these people in the inn, and also they're not that nice to him because they think he's weird because he's covered in bandages, and and they want to spy on him and all of that. So that's not very nice. But I mean, speaking of the accents, he ends up getting a little violent with them, and they call a cop over, and the cop they call over, the Bobby that they bring over, he says, "What's all this then?"
Yeah. I cheered.
He's a very like bumbling cop, and when he starts going on a bit more of his like murderous rampage, and the actual police get involved, they start shaming this guy for being a bit of a bumbling fool.
Well, at first, no one believes that there's an invisible guy.
Yeah,
because the townspeople kind of like bust into after he's like pushed people down the stairs. They bust into his room. And he's like, you think I'm just a crazy person? Check it out. I'm also invisible. And he takes off his bandages in a very cool scene that is still, I think, very impressive to look at. Like the VFX of it.
Looking at the invisibility scenes, like, and the kind of reveal of the Invisible Man, it's amazing. It's the best effects I've seen in any movie so far.
Mm-hmm. At least until the next movie that we talk about. Super impressive. Like, holds up surprisingly well. He takes off all his clothes and goes on a little invisible rampage through the town. Which, I do like how this movie is set during winter. And so it's like, when he's going full invisible, he can only kind of do it for short periods of time because it's so cold out. And he's like, I'm freezing, I need to go inside, put clothes on.
Yeah, there's a naked invisible man wandering around.
Yeah. Which I think the movie does acknowledge more than I kind of thought it would, that it's like, he gets really cold.
This movie like is very concerned with the mechanics of him being invisible. Or it also talks about how he can't go out and commit his crime sprees if he's eaten in the last hour because the undigested food still like is visible hanging in his stomach.
I do wish they showed that, but I also understand why they didn't. He points out it's like he has to keep his nails clean because the like dirt under his fingernails will give him away.
Yeah, it's very, very well thought out. All of the mechanics of it.
I do think it's funny. He's talking about all his like grand, and some of which he does get into, of like causing accidents and disasters and things to happen. But like initially, all of his sort of crimes as an invisible person are like pushing people down the stairs, or like spilling their drinks, or like tripping people, or taking their bicycle.
Yeah. It starts
very small.
Innocent.
Yeah. Not really innocent, but he's just kind of using his invisibility to like fuck with people.
But at the beginning, like, you know, he's fed up with all of these townies, and so he's like, look at me, I'm stealing a bicycle. Isn't that silly, you know?
He does eventually, he breaks into the house of his former friend and kind of demands that he be his visible helper in all of his crimes against humanity.
Another shared element of this with Frankenstein is that there's like 2 scientist understudy buddies,
right?
Who one goes off and does something crazy, and the other one's after his girl at the same time.
Like super obviously after his girl. Yeah. Jack Griffin and Dr. Frankenstein are very similar characters and are like treated in very similar fashions, I think, in both these movies. James Whale loves a mad scientist who's going off the rails.
Yeah. Jack Griffin, he starts exerting his invisible powers upon his old buddy, and very quickly makes his threats like very real. He's like, I could be anywhere, like you like can't escape me. I can follow you and you won't know it. It's all like very threatening. It's all like, once he has decided to use his power to manipulate people, it's very easy for him to do so, and it's like terrifying. Like he is invisible. There's nothing you can do about it.
Well, that's the thing, is like, I feel like as a monster, the Invisible Man initially is sort of like, he's invisible. Like, who cares? Like, what's he gonna do? I think this movie does a really good job of explaining like how terrifying that implication really is.
Yeah.
One of just like, if someone's invisible, then they can sneak up on you and like stab you or like choke you to death. His sort of preferred method of murder is strangulation, which is a scary way to kill someone.
Yeah.
But then I think that this movie does really well, and that I was very impressed by and kind of didn't expect there to be as much of this as there is that as the movie goes on, you start to get more and more just kind of like uncertain about whether or not he's even in the room in certain scenes.
Yeah.
Like the other characters are starting to be like, we have to just assume that he's always next to us because he might be. And
it's so good.
That idea is terrifying, of just like the fact that he could be anywhere at once. He almost starts to actually be everywhere at once. And like people start to act in that, like just assuming that he's in the room because like,
right. The hijinks in this town that he was staying in, they start off as this silly thing of like, this whole town thinks there's an invisible guy. Isn't that dumb? And then once he like chokes out a cop in front of the other cops, the radio starts saying, everybody lock your doors. Yeah. There's an invisible crazy man out.
And I think this movie starts to do that the 2020 remake of this movie also does really well, is it's like, it'll just show you like an empty corner of a room, and just that is very threatening, because it's like, is he there? He might be, he might not be, but like you have to start to assume that he's lurking in every corner, because like that's always a possibility.
Yeah. And speaking more to the mechanics, like they're so after this all becomes apparent, there's basically like a nationwide manhunt for him. And the precautions that the cops are taking are like, okay, well, like we've got to think about like, what could it imply that there might be an invisible man near us? And it's like, how do we ensure that, like, what are some strategies we could use to capture him? And like, how do we ensure that he's not near us while we're talking about our plans? And so they go into this room and then run a net across the entire room to make sure that he's not in the room with them, which is a really great touch.
Yeah.
And they're like, part of their plans toward capturing him are like spraying him with paint or like knocking some dirt onto him so that it sits on his shoulders and you can see it floating. Very, very, very cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing that I was sort of, I guess I sort of like almost like the intellectual implication of this movie is like, how much is Griffin's like insanity and his like cruelty coming from the fact that he's taken this weird chemical, and how much of it is just him like tripping out on the power of being invisible. Because he does like get worse over the course of the movie. Like he starts out and he's just like a jerk to everyone. He's just rude and is like he's clearly, you know, not well. But then by the end of the movie, he is like plotting to like take over the world and like commit mass murder and things like that. And it's like, I like how much of it is sort of like, some of this might just be him. The fact that he has been invisible for like weeks or months on end might have just like changed the way that like he sees the world almost.
Right.
It's like just by being invisible has made him more evil.
I mean, yeah, there's a there's a contender for that for sure.
It's kind of the absolute power corrupts absolutely argument.
The way that this movie ends is the way this movie ends is also like a quite a Frankenstein ending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So after this manhunt, there's a farmer who's discovered some kind of strange, mysterious snoring sounds and leaves or like hay rustling in his barn.
Yeah.
After he's been on the run for a while.
During his manhunt, also he causes like a train derailment by like murdering the guy who works at the train yard and like turning the tracks so that the trains collide and explode.
Yeah, he is really just wanting to like cause as much havoc as possible.
Yeah.
To just show people how powerful he is. Maybe I'm skipping a little bit ahead to the ending, but he also just like brutally murders his friend after he realized that he called the police.
Right. He's like, if you betray me, like I will find you and murder you. Like you cannot escape. Like I'm gonna be behind you at some point, and you won't know.
Very ominous.
And so the guy, he's like, no one can leave me. Like I have to always like be in a room with powder on the floor. He's like taking all these precautions, and he thinks that he's gotten away. But he gets into a car and he's driving along, and then he hears a voice in the back seat. And yeah, Griffin like causes his car to go off a cliff and explode.
Yeah, I knew I told you shouldn't betray me.
Yeah.
Now you'll suffer the consequences. There's some good stuff also with him sitting in cars, like while he's like having his friend do his bidding, because like you can see so much stuff to just make him feel like he is present in the space.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot of really good stuff with like moving props around with wires that you can't see, or like and making them move in ways that don't look like they're being pulled by a wire.
Yeah.
Like they're being manipulated by a person. But like specifically with the cars, you see like the seat depressed down when he sits down, which is just another great touch. You're seeing that with the hay in the barn at the end. He's in this. It's snow, and the cops know that they can track him in the snow, so they're like, "This is the time. Like we've got to find him now." While it's snowing, they get a call from the farmer, and a la Frankenstein, they set fire to the barn to either like smoke him out or burn him alive. And they have a ring of cops all the way around the barn so that he can't slip past them. And they also and they can see the snow all around it. So as the barn burns, you see footprints in the snow.
Yeah. And they even the cops say like no one walk over to it because then like we have to keep the snow clear.
Yeah. And yeah, they're able to shoot him.
Yeah,
like based on the footprints.
And once he gets shot, he falls in the snow, and you see like a body, like the snow depress, kind of like the seat.
The way they did that, John P. Fulton is the engineer who did all of the special effects in this movie, and he did the invisible effects, and he also did these, which the way it was done was they put fake snow on top of a platform, and then had cutouts, foot-shaped cutouts in the bottom of the platform that they pulled down to sink the snow down in foot shapes. Fantastic.
The best. Like such a simple thing, but like all the effects in this movie are like really kind of almost deceptively simple. But right, so as after he gets shot, he gets brought to the hospital, and his old girlfriend Flora comes and visits him. And kind of Flora's like the one person that he kind of acts normal around, like presumably how he used to be before he went crazy and invisible. I do kind of wish the movie had a little bit more of this like doomed romance subplot, because I think it's a cool idea that like he's going crazy, but like his connection to her is like kind of his one tether back to sanity.
She's definitely more developed than the equivalent character in Frankenstein.
Yeah. But so then when he dies, they sort of have a moment as he's dying where he's like kind of returned to his old self a little bit. And then he dies and he becomes visible again in the hospital bed. And we get our one shot of Claude Rains' face in the whole movie. Oh, yeah. So Flora, the girlfriend, is played by Gloria Stewart, who is most famous for playing Old Rose in Titanic. Yes. Which I didn't know until after I saw this movie. And that's a fun bit of trivia. She does some really kind of classic 1930s capital A acting in this movie. Of like, oh, why?
She's also one of the co-founders of the Screen Actors Guild and of the Hollywood Anti-Nazi League.
Good job, Gloria.
Well done, Gloria.
You're done good.
Going back to the effects a little bit, like these just mind-blowing invisibility effects. The way it was done, it's still using double exposure or multiple exposures, as has been the trick for every movie since 1896, but they are just being used to an extreme level of expertness here.
Yeah.
The way that they were able to isolate the certain areas where he was supposed to be invisible was they would cover everything that was supposed to be invisible in black fabric. So the effect of that is that you're not getting any of that janky translucency that you get in other movies that haven't done it as well. There's no translucency in the composited quote-unquote things here. Like, it looks like it's fully in the scene. It's 3-dimensional too. Like, you're seeing things being unwrapped, and like the you're seeing the cloths moving around. It's, oh god, it's amazing.
There's also there's the multiple exposure thing, which is like they had to do like I think like 4 passes of. I think there's
the mirror scene in particular.
Well, I think the mirror scene they had to do like 8 passes because they'd have to do it once for the image in the mirror and then once for the like foreground image of him also taking the bandages off.
But then they needed to do the back plate of the mirror and the back plate of the foreground.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And then there's at least one shot of a close-up of him taking the bandages off his face, and that was done with like a wireframe that they actually just wrapped bandages around. So that one has like even more kind of like 3D. You can see the back of the bandages in that one. Whereas in the multiple exposure stuff, they kind of when he's like has the bandages half off of his head, you can't see the back of them in the front.
Right.
This is an awful thing to explain in audio, but
the shots are very thoughtfully composed to make the effects pop as well as possible.
Yeah. And then there's also just fun stuff like a pair of pants chasing someone down the street.
Yeah, this movie's a blast. Yeah. This is great.
Super fun. Great lead performance. Great monster.